Okay. So you have a 6-month-old Dalmatian Diesel?
Yes.
Okay. And it seemed like your main concern is like potty training, but also just like behavior around like the kids and stuff. Like he's, as a puppy, he's kind of bulldozing through them and stuff like that.
Yes.
Gotcha. And then what kind of training are you looking for? Are you looking for in-home? Is it board and train, daycare and train?
In-home.
Okay. So for just so you're aware, like we're still doing in-home.
Okay.
But we have 2 different rates. So if you wanted to work with me, it's at a more expensive rate.
Okay.
Or you could work with my other trainer.
Hold on, Liam. I'm on the phone. I'm sorry.
You're fine. My other trainer, Enrique, and his rate would be at my in-facility rate, but he will travel to you. Okay. And for what you're dealing with, he's more than capable of handling
okay.
This particular case, because it's simple stuff. Okay.
Okay.
So when it comes to your potty training, the main issue that I'm seeing is he's not being put on a schedule.
Okay.
Okay, so we would help you with the schedule. Your crate is a part of it, and I think you said he does well in the crate. Is that correct?
Correct.
But he's like not letting you know that he's got to go to the bathroom. Correct.
Correct.
Okay. So that's normal. I don't recommend people train their dogs, let them know when they have to potty, because they don't relate it to having the potty. They relate it to going outside.
Okay.
Okay, so then he'll just like ring the bell just because he wants to go outside, not because he has to potty.
Okay.
Like a kid would, right? A kid's like, hey, I got to the bathroom. They go to the bathroom. But for dogs, they don't differentiate that. Okay. So we help you get a schedule down, a schedule where he's going to accommodate your schedule. So typically dogs go out 3 times a day, morning, after work, or midday, and then before bed. Now this is going to be a process. Okay, so potty training isn't overnight. He's 6 months, so he should advance faster.
Okay.
He's capable of holding it for longer. It's just he's not been taught how to hold it. He's been. I like that you're utilizing the crate, but since it's more on his terms, he's like, "Hey, I gotta pee," and he just like starts peeing where he's at. Like that's normal, So how long that would take, I can't tell you. Every dog is different.
Okay.
But we will minimize the number of accidents, and then over time, eventually, he'll of course be potty trained. Okay. Is there someone always around with Diesel, or is the schedule kind of all over the place? I know you guys have children, right?
Yeah. So since I work from home some days, I have had the ability to be at home. But once like all this COVID stuff is over, he's gonna be at home for maybe 8 to 10 hours by himself.
Okay. And would you work like a standard 9 to 5?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I would suggest now, just as a tip in the meantime, is
you guys leave him alone.
Kenneling him 9 to 5.
Okay.
Okay. Now, do you plan on having a dog walker?
No. Okay, but should I? Okay.
The reason why I ask is I want you to start living your life with Diesel like it would look like if you're working 9 to 5 Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Okay. Because working from home for a lot of people, they're thinking like, oh, I could, take the dog out whenever, or it's going to be great because I'm going to be with my puppy and I can spend all day with him or whatever. But it's actually counterproductive to potty training.
Okay.
But also he may develop or can develop separation anxiety, which is a pain in the butt to fix.
Okay.
Okay. So what I would suggest now, which will make your life easier, is from 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. He's kenneled in a separate room, if the kids are on homeschool or whatever, and he's just there. Okay.
Okay.
Now, during this time, expect him to have a potty mistake in the kennel.
Okay.
Okay, because he's got to learn to hold it for that time frame.
Okay.
By 6 months, he's technically capable of holding it at an adult level. Okay, so you're not being mean, but you definitely want it. I mean, it would be easier to get him on that schedule now. So by the time you're going back to work and you're actually leaving, it's all been done. It's all been taken care of, and you can just go to work, come home, let him out, take him out to potty, and he's good.
And you know what? I think for the most part, he has never had an accident in his crate, and he has been in the crate for that 9 to 5 type of schedule periodically. So, you know, I think he is definitely capable of holding it for that period of time.
Good. So let's use that to our advantage.
Okay.
So Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 in the kennel, and then just to get him used to that routine and stuff. So when you have to actually leave and he's going to be kenneled and you're gone, it's not that big of a deal for him. If you're doing it sporadically, like every now and then all of a sudden it goes from every now and then to every Monday through Friday, that's where problems start to happen.
Okay.
So I would just start that process as soon as tomorrow.
Okay.
So the other stuff, when it comes to like the behavior with the kids and stuff, part of that is just discipline, which, you know, depending on how you approach this, either I or Enrique would show you.
Okay.
So there's obedience and then there's discipline, okay, or behavior, if you will. Obedience doesn't always affect behavior.
Okay.
So think of obedience as education.
Okay.
Sit, come, math, English, science. Okay. Think of behavior as morality. Don't jump, don't bark, don't bite, don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat. Okay. So someone who's very smart may not be a very good person, and someone who's not the smartest person can be a very good person, right?
Okay.
They don't correlate. So it's the same thing here. So it's partially teaching you how to correct your puppy to teach him what is not acceptable with the children, or, you know, just in general, you know, jumping and like running around and maybe barking at the kids or whatever. Your house, your rules. I don't care what your rules are. We just care that you reinforce them correctly. Okay. Now, I was raised old school. I was spanked. And, you know, dogs, they bite their puppies and they use physicality to discipline their puppies. So like if Diesel were to like jump on my pet, Lexi's not aggressive. She's a social dog. I use her to socialize dogs all the time. But if he jumped on her, she would find that disrespectful. She would nip or bite him to teach him, you don't jump on me. Okay? So when it comes to correcting behaviors, it's simply applying an aversive or a consequence to deter the behavior.
Okay.
So like some people put their dog in the kennel for timeout. Some people like spray them with the water bottle and stuff like that. Dogs don't do timeout. That's not a concept that they understand like a child would. You know, you could send your kid to the room and say like, hey, think about what you did, and then come out when you're ready or whatever. These won't do that. Okay. So if you try to put him in the kennel because he like bulldozed through the kids and knocked them down, he's not going to sit in the kennel thinking like, man, I shouldn't have done that. Okay. So the obedience aspect of it is really what kind of determines what the length of your program is going to be.
Okay.
Because the potty training stuff would be, here's a bunch of information, here's a schedule, this is how we get a routine down, and this is how you're going to progress it. Okay. So that's typically a class. And then every week, maybe we would ask like, how's potty training going? And you'd say really good, or we had some issues. We'd fix what those issues are, or like give you information and then follow with training and then see you again in a week. Okay. So we would, once you've got the potty training concepts down, it's like we keep tabs on it, but that's just something that's going to happen over time. The training or the behavioral stuff is the stuff that we would be actively working on. Okay.
Okay.
Now, obedience wise, what do you need Diesel to be able to do? Like, what does your life with Diesel look like in the future with your family and with your kids?
Like, I want him to be one of those peaceful dogs that's able to like roam the house, you know, cuddle, watch movies, just really just be a part of the family, just as calm as he can be type of dog. Right now, it's just like, he can't even come in the living room because he's just so hyper and always nipping at the kids. And like, I understand he's still a puppy. So, you know, that's why I'm like, I'm trying to get him training, but really just, I don't need him to be a guard dog or anything. I just need him just to exist, you know, like just coexist with everybody.
Okay. So that's more in the behavior realm, which is easier than it seems because it's just correcting what you don't want. Okay. Teaching Diesel how to sit is not going to make him a calm dog.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
I mean, it's what kids, right? If you have a really like high energy kid and you teach them math, like it's not going to make them calm, right? So it could go a number of ways because I don't know what Diesel is personality wise. So what can seem as high energy is really a lot of times a lack of boundaries.
Okay.
So for a child, if we take school, for example, let's say we take a bunch of first graders and the morning bell is rung, right? Like they're loud, they're throwing paper airplanes, they're talking to each other, they're shuffling around, there's noise, right? And then the morning bell rings. What happens?
We notice it down now, like.
Yeah, you calm down, right?
Right.
Because morning bell means discipline is now in effect, right? If you talk out of turn, you can get detention, you go to the principal's office, you get a call to your parent. There's some kind of consequence for behavior. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So for Diesel, if it is just lack of boundaries, once you learn how to correct the things you don't want, we should see a lot of stuff go away.
Okay.
Because it's just, you can't nip at the kids, you can't bark at them, you can't jump on the couch, you can't jump on them, you can't run around whenever you want, right? It's you can't do that. Okay, because what most people do is they tell their dog to sit, their dog sits, and then 5 seconds later, the dog's doing it again. Because nothing said don't do that. Okay, now it's possible, it's rare, but it's possible you could have what we call a high drive dog. Okay, when you have a high drive dog, it means a dog that needs a job. Okay, like they're on all the time and they need something to help them pacify. So like, okay, I did my work for today, because it's a necessity for them. Okay, so us putting rules on them helps out a lot, but there's still a dog in need of some kind of outlet.
Right.
Okay, so I don't know, you know, even if you showed me Diesel, I can't look at them. Like once I start working with them or someone works with them, that's how we start to figure out those types of things. Okay. So it's knowing how to correct Diesel, which is simple. Okay. Once you understand how to do so, it's just you do so. Okay. And it's much like kids. With kids, so Diesel, even at his age, is a 3 to 4 year old child up here, and he will be that forever. Okay. Okay. So imagine, how old are your children?
4 and 5.
Okay. Now you got 3.
Exactly.
Okay? Now you have 3. But one will forever be at that age. Okay. Okay, so just bear that in mind, because obviously I'm assuming for your 4 to 5 year old, you're like constantly having to come to do stuff, right? Go get dressed, go to the bathroom, brush your teeth, go eat dinner, right? This and stuff. And it's every day. But as they mature, because we grow, right? You would tell them less because they just start to learn that routine. Right? Diesel won't do that. Okay. Diesel will forever either need to be told what not to do or what to do. Okay. Now, as you're correcting things consistently, like let's say every time he nips at the kids or something, you correct him. At some point, he'll go like, you know what? Every time I try to nip at a kid, I get corrected and it's not fun. So I'm not going to do it. Right. Okay. However, 8 months down the line, maybe one day he forgets or he gets too excited and he does it. Right. You'd correct them again, even though it's been 8 months, you would still correct them, right? So like last time I ran a red light, it was like maybe a year ago, okay? And then a week ago, I ran a red light, right? Like these things still happen, but you're having to correct less. Okay. That makes sense. So, and once you understand how to correct, so like once my mom knew how to spank me, it was just, okay, I know how to spank Jesse. I'm just going to spank him whenever he does something I don't want him to do again. It's just you learn that, and then whenever he does something you don't want, you simply discipline him. It's that simple. Now, the other aspect is control. So when you mention like I want him to be a calm dog that just exists, right? you may not have that dog. So that's the thing. Like, you don't know when you get puppies. Like, I have had clients get a puppy at 2 months and they're like, Jesse, this is the calmest puppy. Not a bark, sleeps tonight, blah, blah. I'm like, wait, it's only been a day. Right. And then the puppy hits 6 months and they're barking and they're chewing on everything and all that stuff. They're like, what happened? I'm like, your puppy is maturing. So just like as humans, our personality changes throughout the years, right? Through events or, experiences, stuff like that, or just with who we are, your dog is going to change. Okay. Now there's nature versus nurture, right? There's what he's born with, his genetics, and then there's what you allow, which is nurture, which is why that discipline factor is so important. Okay. But it's not as simple as just disciplining your dog. In some cases, it's, you know what, you also need to do this, like giving them something to do, right? So like, let's say for whatever reason, you're correcting them and you're struggling with Diesel, just like being mindful around the kids. Then I can just tell him to lay down and he won't move for 3 hours. But that's the control aspect of it.
Okay.
But that requires you to do more work because now you have to teach Diesel what to do. You have to teach him skills. Okay, so that requires more time, more investment for you to do stuff. Okay. The behavior stuff is simple. It's, oh, you're trying to dig in the garbage, don't do that. Right. It's the, okay, don't move for the next 3 hours when I have you lay down next to the couch. That takes time. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's why I asked, like, what do you look in terms of control? Like what you said was like what you would like, right? Of course, like just be a calm dog that coexists. That's a little more complicated. I don't know what the personality type is. He's a young dog. He's 6 months. And I know some people think, or some trainers may say like, oh, the dog will grow out of it. That's fallacy.
Okay.
Technically, if it goes unaddressed or ignored, he's being allowed to do the behavior, which then develops a habit. So if he's nipping at the kids and no one tells him no, and then now in a year, when he's 2 years, he's going to still do it because no one said, don't do that. Okay. So I would not gamble on putting your hopes on, hopefully he matures and grows out of this, because a lot of times they don't. Okay. Is he going to get any type of like exercise? Are you guys going to walk him and stuff?
So we are moving. We're closing on our house next Wednesday, and we have a really, really big yard. I personally, before it got cold, I would walk him first thing in the morning around 4:35, and then in the evening before I went to bed around 7:38, before he went in his crate. So with the new house and then me just wanting to, walk too, I feel like, yeah, he will be pretty active. But the only thing is that what I'm experiencing with him now, because we have a huge backyard now, is when I try to leave him outside by himself, he starts scratching at the door. He's like, she's gone. No, I'm just like, no, you stay out. I'm gonna stand in the door. And so I think he has a little bit of anxiety, like as soon as I close the door. And so if I don't open it, he'll go around to the front and then he'll start scratching at the front door. So that's what I'm experiencing right now with him.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of attachment. That's that separation anxiety stuff I was talking about. Okay. And also, unfortunately, being out in the yard isn't really exercise to a dog.
Okay.
So exercise is we go for a walk for 30 minutes.
Okay.
And then I usually recommend at least an hour a day.
Okay.
Where you're walking, and this isn't like sniffing and all that stuff. This is we're walking.
Okay.
Think of the yard as like extracurricular. So what's going to happen is he's going to go out and potentially he's going to go out and he's going to zoom around, right? You're going to bring him inside. And he's going to keep zooming around. Okay. So it's not uncommon, especially because, I lived in Texas for a couple of years and that was like the go-to. It's just put the dog in the yard. Issues because there was no outlet. And they were running around in the yard and coming in and running around inside the home.
Okay.
So if you're trying to get Diesel to be as good of a dog as he can be, just like with one's child, it requires time and investment. Like putting effort into him, disciplining him when he does stuff that you don't want. Would he ever go to like a park or anything?
So like you said, he's walking straight 30 minutes, no sniffing. He doesn't know how not to sniff. Like when we take a walk, like that's like the normal thing he does. He just sniffs and then I'll like tug him a little bit, like come along. And then he's scared to cross big streets too. So when we've gone to the park, he's just sniffing around or he's trying to chase all the kids. Cause like I would take the boys to the park. And he was just like, pulling me away and trying to do other things and just sniffing. So it didn't seem like he was that interested in it the few times that I have taken him to the park.
Sure. Okay. So that can change, but where we can come in, so it's potty training, it's knowing how to discipline your dog, and then essentially walking him on a leash.
Okay.
So where do you live currently? What's your neighborhood?
So we live in the Austin area, but we border Oak Park. So like we walk through Oak Park.
Gotcha. Is that south?
That is west.
Okay. No, I'm just trying to think where you guys are at. Okay, cool. So did you do any research on how we train or the methods that we use?
So I was snooping around on like your YouTube and Instagram, and I noticed that you guys use like the collar. And there was this one lady that I had seen, I think it was the one that is like headlining on your page. And she had a dog and she was walking, and then when he was supposed to sit, like he would sit and like people were passing by and he wasn't even paying attention to him. So yeah, I seen that. Is that your main method?
Correct. So we any dog older than 6 months that I've trained is on e-collar. Okay. The reason why we do that is because right off the bat you get off leash control.
Okay.
Right, which is why I was asking, like, would he go to a park? Because if he runs away, you need a means of making your dog return in case of an emergency.
Okay.
Right? I'm gonna explain how all this would work.
Okay.
So the e-collar is not electricity that's like going through your dog's body. It's not like sticking your finger in an outlet. It's a miniaturized TENS unit. Have you ever been to a chiropractor or physical therapist?
Physical therapy, yeah.
Have you had the nodes or where they put on your arm or whatever and it moves the muscles?
You know what? I have, yes.
Okay, so that's an e-collar.
Okay,
so people usually think e-collar, again, is like electricity. It's like shocking the dog. It's not. It's just a miniaturized TENS unit that contracts the muscle that it's making contact with.
Okay.
So your dog would not feel anything anywhere else.
Okay.
So in terms of the bigger picture, the first thing, in your case we cover is the potty training stuff. So we can get that going.
Okay.
And then the next thing would be we teach the heel, which is walking on the leash, no pulling.
Okay.
No pulling, no sniffing, no deviating. He's on your hip. You're just walking. Okay. And if you give him permission, he can pee and poop and sniff and do his doggy thing. But then when he's under control, he's at your hip. Okay.
Okay.
Now, how long things are going to take depends on really just the level of control you want over Diesel.
Okay.
So there's like the standard family pet stuff. I walk my dog and we go to the dog park and that's about it. All the way up to like I go hiking, I go to the dog beach, I go to restaurants. My dog's gonna come with me everywhere. Then we get complete control. Okay. So that's really gonna determine where you fall in terms of the program. So the reason why I do e-collar is because earlier I mentioned the dogs bite each other. They use physicality. And e-collars essentially is what I call like a bite on the button. Okay. So you can also use it to stop behaviors in the home, but we would give you other methods so that you're not reliant on the collar 24/7.
Okay.
Really, the collar would be used whenever you're going to have guests come over, I would assume, just to keep him under control, because new guests would, he's going to be excited, or two, if he's going to be outside, because you can't account for life, off leash dogs. If something spooks him and he gets off leash and he's running away, you want to have a means of control. Okay. Otherwise, inside the home, you would have other means of correcting him. Not that you wouldn't use it in a home, especially when you're in the training phase. So if like you have him like not moving for 3 hours, you're going to need something to reinforce it. Okay. Now, the exercises are simple, but you do of course have to do something. right?
Okay.
So like in order to teach your dog how to heel at your side without pulling and all that stuff. And the reason why I stress that is because if there's no outlet for that energy or any discipline or structured exercise, he's gonna be more likely all over the place.
Okay.
Okay. The heel, physical exercise, and it's also structure and discipline, which helps calm the dog down. Okay. And then we see how does this affect his behavior. You know, a lot of times the heel will fix like 70-80% of problems.
Okay.
So that's why it's also like the first thing that we teach, because one, people want to get rid of leash pulling, but two, it's the one command that like fixes a lot of things. Okay. So then once we see what that does, we just start to progress according to how you're progressing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no real kind of, I have an idea of what you're needing and like what I would recommend.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of how you progress, just is determined by how much work you put into it, and you know, whether or not you're actually following through with the training as instructed, because that's what holds people back. I tell them do this, and I come back and they've not done that. So then we're just wasting time and money. Okay. So I kind of feel like you're in my 6th class range.
Okay.
There would be one on, and you can also add in Zoom sessions. For like, for example, for the potty training, I would probably say just add on a Zoom session, because it's about an hour long, and it's just, here's a lot of information.
Okay.
You don't need to like come to your house and say like, oh, this is what you're going to do and you're going to do this, right? It's just, here's a lot of information. What's your life look like? This is how we're going to blend those two things together.
Okay.
With the 6 classes, 2 on the leash walking, we see how much does that affect his behavior, getting him just exercise, getting him some structure and discipline. If that's going really well, we'll teach you how to correct the behaviors you don't want.
Okay.
The jumping, the nipping, the bulldozing to the kids and stuff like that. We always recommend that you teach your dog recall, which is come when called. So in case if Diesel ever got out the yard, or if he ever, you know, got off leash or something like that, you have a means of making your dog return.
Okay.
So that's usually 2 classes in itself, which is 5. That leaves 1, which we could cover something like stationary control, which is like the go here, don't move for the next 3 hours type of deal.
Okay.
But we would only cover all that, of course, if you're doing your homework.
Okay.
Now, don't expect at the end of 6 classes, Diesel's going to be fully trained. You're going to have all the tools. You're going to make a lot of progress. And as you keep practicing and applying what you've learned, within a few months, you're going to have, you know, he'll have the concept of like, okay, heel is walking the hip. When mom calls me, I come back no matter what. And then mom go lay down and don't move. I don't move for 2 hours. But it takes time to build these skills. Okay. So the heel is the fastest that most people teach, because they walk their dogs multiple times a day.
Okay.
The recall, or the come when called, is the longest, because it requires you to go to the park and practice with him.
Okay.
So that if you go once a week, it's going to take you a really long time to teach that. If you go once every day, you're going to get there much faster.
Okay.
Okay. The go here, don't move depends on how much you practice it. If you practice it every day, then you're going to make great progress. If you practice it every now and then, it's going to be slow progress. The behavior stuff, again, that's at your rate. We give you the information. And if we come back and you're like, I felt bad disciplining him, Jesse, I couldn't do it. I'm like, well, he's going to keep jumping on your kids then. Right? Because, you know, for me growing up, I'm sure my mom didn't like spanking me, but it was part of the process in order to raise me as a, you know, to raise me into a good person. Right? Does it all make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm putting you in the 6-week range because I'm going by what you've told me. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible, and not like say like, I don't like giving people a bunch of stuff that I don't think that they're going to use, or that's not going to be necessary to them. Okay. You have the option to do 9 or 12, which would be we would cover more obedience to a higher level. Like your dog can be completely off leash trained, but if it's not really in your, not going to be in Diesel's future, it's not really worth the investment. I'm giving you the heel because that's going to help affect his behavior. It's going to give him an energy outlet. It's going to be disciplined so that we can calm him down inside the house. We're teaching the recall because every dog needs to have a recall. Last thing you want is your dog to run away and not be able to get him to come back. And then the go here, don't move is so like if he's just bothering you and you're like, you know what, Diesel, I need you to leave me alone. Go over here.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some application, or like, let's say with the kids, like the kids are running around and like you're trying to correct them and it's too much for him. You have some kind of control.
Okay.
And of course the behavior, which is simple. It's just like, don't do that. And we teach you how to correct your dog. Questions about any of that stuff?
If we find that later that's something that I do want, is it something that we can add? Can we add on classes? Or
so like if you did 6, like a 6 is $950, for example.
Okay.
And 12 is 16, like 75, I think. Okay.
Okay.
So if you did 6 at $950 and then another 6 later, it would be $950 again. We wouldn't prorate it. Okay. But if you commit to 12 up front, you get a lower per class rate.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like I have a lady that did 6 and then she's going to come back and do 6 in the spring. Okay. But she paid $950 and then she's going to pay $950 in the future.
Okay.
So you can absolutely always add on classes. It's just if you commit up front, you get a cheaper per class rate versus if you split it up.
Okay.
In terms of the cost of the collar, how much does Diesel weigh?
Don't get me to lie. He may be up to like 45 pounds.
Okay. Heaviest?
Yes.
Okay. So the collar he would need runs about $287-ish with tax.
Okay.
It will last for years. It's a 3/4 mile range, fully waterproof system. So you can swim in it and all that stuff, no problem. It is kind of bulky. So if you'd like a more kind of aesthetically pleasing collar, there's one that's like 325-ish, I believe.
Okay.
And it's rounded, so he doesn't have this big old square sticking on his neck.
Okay.
And then Maria will send you the information. You can get that on Amazon.
Okay.
One of the most common questions I get from people is, when does the e-collar go away? And in my book, when you need it, it doesn't. Okay. So like, if you're going to walk your dog, so do you drive?
Yes.
Do you go on the expressway?
Yes.
Do you go the speed limit?
No.
So yeah, most people don't. So, but when you see a squad car, what happens?
You slow down.
Slow down. That's called opportunistic behavior. Okay. If you know you can get away with something, you might try it. So think of your dog. Your dog's the same way. Okay. It's a part of survival instinct. So for Diesel, think of that e-collar as a cop on a collar. When it's present, he's going to know he's got to be mindful. He's got to behave himself because you have a means of reinforcing things, right? There's the threat of consequence. But when it's not present, he's going to push things.
Okay.
So inside the house, it's easier without the collar because there's less stimuli. It's just you and your family, right? But like, let's say when you have guests come over, because that's new stimuli, you'd have the collar on, right? If you're going to take him out for a walk, or if he's going to go to the dog park, or he's going to go to the dog beach or go hiking or something, you'd have your collar on, right? Because there's other things that you can account for, plus you're outside, right?
Okay.
Other than that, if he's a great dog, then you don't need it, okay? So then you just simply have him not wear it when he's inside the home or whatever, okay? Because we would also give you other means of correcting him for behavioral stuff.
Okay.
So it has nothing to do with my skills as a trainer. It has nothing to do with like, my methods or anything like that. It's just how it is. Humans know better, and we still go past the speed limit and press the boundaries of things, right? Dogs are the exact same way, and they're more simple than we are.
Okay.
Questions about any of that stuff?
No.
Okay. Trying to think here if there's anything I missed. So for the in-home, if you worked with my trainer Enrique, like I said, it would be at my in-facility rate, which is $950. And there would be, I had to have to look at I know you guys said you're in Oak Park, but there would most likely be a travel fee, but his travel fee is cheaper than mine.
Okay.
His is much cheaper than mine. Because for me, one, we have the in-home rate, which is more expensive, right? But then also because most of my clients travel to me, since I have to travel down to you and then spend time there, then travel back, my travel rate's more expensive.
Okay.
Because you're essentially paying for a lost business, right?
Okay.
I could have 3 clients in 3 hours at my facility, but if I'm spending an hour going somewhere, an hour there, and an hour coming back, I lose that.
Okay.
But your case is simple. So what I would suggest is, doing 6 and then a Zoom session. And like I could go over the potty training stuff with you and all that stuff over the Zoom session. That's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
And then Enrique would help you with all the obedience stuff, the behavior stuff. All that stuff is really straightforward. And then it's just a matter of you, of course, reinforcing what you've learned.
Are you guys doing in facility training at this time?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think that's another reason why I was like in home, because I thought that was the only option.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Yeah. So the way we were doing it was during the summer, we were doing training at Oz Park, which is in Lincoln Park, Chicago. So because it's such a busy environment, and it was a really good environment for people to practice, right? But now that it's cold and it's near the lake, it's too cold.
Okay.
So like almost all my clients except for 2 are doing in facility.
Okay.
Okay. The 13,000 square foot space. The training space is about 5,000 square feet. So it's plenty of space to work inside, and we can replicate, what you do outside, inside, so you're not standing out in the cold and stuff like that. And you get to work with me as well at my in-facility rate, which is the same rate that it would be for Enrique if he traveled to you. But with okay.
Okay.
And then Maria, of course, would follow up. She'd give you all this information. In terms of when we could get you on my calendar, it just depends on your availability.
Okay.
Because most people were 9 to 5, so I'm usually evenings and weekends.
Same. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So if you have availability during the day, like on a Monday or something, much easier to get you in because no one has those times available really.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Other questions?
No, I think that is it. Now, with regard to payment, can we do split payments, or does it need to be upfront, or is there a fee when you do split payments?
So there's no fee, and you would get your credit from this consultation, of course. Okay. So we split it into 3 payments.
Okay.
Right? You would do a down payment, which is half of the program, and you would get your consultation credit towards that.
Okay.
You'd be invoiced for your second payment, and it needs to be paid by the 3rd class.
Okay.
And then you get a 3rd invoice that needs to be paid by the 5th class.
Okay.
Okay. So at this way, we're at least ahead. Because in the past I've had people like squeeze in their classes and then not pay.
Okay.
So yeah, so like, so you'd have your 2 classes, you'd get an invoice and just make sure it's paid by the 3rd class. And the same thing for the 5th one. So like, let's say you went out of town and you traveled for a week or 2. So you have to push back your 3rd class. It doesn't matter that you pay it until you're going to have your 3rd class.
Okay.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
Yeah. Other questions?
And you said for the 9, it's going to be $1,250?
No, for the 9, so it's $950. The 9 is, I believe, $1,150.
Okay.
And then the 12 is $1,675, and that's if you come to the facility. Okay.
Okay. I think I would like to come to the facility just to get him that out of house experience, because he isn't out. So I if we do happen to be out and about, I want him to kind of get a feel for knowing how to interact if he sees other people and things of that nature.
Sure. And then like if you're doing a longer program, come the springtime and stuff, we would just relocate to Oz, so you're working outside in the distracting environment,
Okay.
Just so you know. And like I had another client who actually was doing 12, and they're doing their 6 now, and then they're gonna push the last 6 till like the spring summertime, so that we can work at Oz Park.
Okay.
Right. But they wanted the discounted rate, so they just said, "Can I pay the discounted rate, do my 6, and come back for the other 6?" And I said, "Absolutely."
Right. Okay.
It's just that you're committing up front and you're saying, "Yes, I'm going to do this, but I actually want to do it this way." We go, "Not a problem." Okay.
Sounds good.
Any other questions?
Not at this moment. No, not at this moment. Sounds good. Everything sounds really good.
Okay. So Maria would follow up with you.
Okay.
I'm going to send her the information to send to you, and then she'll send you a form and all that stuff. And then just keep in mind, if you do start now or soon or whatever, you will be training potentially outside, right? I mean, at least on your own time, right? If you're practicing the heel, you have to practice heel outside.
Right,
okay?
right.
So when we're at the facility, it's nice. We can work inside. We're not sitting there cold or whatever. But then, you know, at least 3 times a day, once you've learned how to teach the heel, 15 to 20-minute training walks or whatever. So there will be some stuff outside. A lot of it can be done inside, but there'll be some stuff that will have to be done outside, at least on your own time when you practice. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, Christina, it was a pleasure talking to you. If you need anything else, you let us know. Otherwise, if you have any other questions, you can talk to Maria. She'll get back about it, and then she'll send you all the information. Okay.
All right. Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.